Hello everybody, welcome back to SNR. Round 14 takes us to the most demanding track on the race calendar. It's Singapore. If by any chance you missed the last round at Italy, please go back and check it. It was one interesting race, that's for sure. A lot happened in that race. It was very hectic, and it's well worth going back to have a look at that race once again. But obviously, give you enough time to click away from the video to reveal to you that it was Chelsea Boy who took over the lead of the championship after DarrenSinclair's DNF in Italy. With Chelsea Boy's win in Italy, it means he moves to the top of the table by 3 points. In third place, the Gort had a good run in Italy, got himself third place, and moves higher up the table, 61 points off DarrenSinclair. So mathematically there's still a chance, but with Sinclair's recent form, it's fair to say that anything could happen still towards the end of the season. We had White Samba, who finished in second, his best result for the season. He currently lies in, I believe that is, he lies in 6th place in the championship, and will be hoping to capitalise on that good form that saw him take that second place on the podium. Rocket also had his best performance of the season in 4th place. He may be lying 12th in the championship, but his performance at Italy showed that he can put the performances in, and those high scoring points elevated him up through the table. And he will be very happy with that result. So let's have a look at the constructors table now. We have McLaren still at the top of the table on 256 points. As you can see, he's 12 points ahead of Sauber. In third place, Williams. Both Williams drivers are doing a solid job when it comes to getting those consistent results. So they also lie 12 points behind. They are only behind, I believe, on amount of race wins. So that's the reason they are in third place. In fourth place, not so far behind, 46 points behind are Mercedes, and then we get to the double figures. We get Red Bull, Toro Rosso and Force India, Haas, Renault, and the unfortunately lowly Ferrari this season, who have not had a great day at the races so far. So let's hope for their sake they can get back up the table, higher up the table, so that they can share the spoils maybe and challenge Renault towards the latter part of the season. Today's track is, of course, Singapore. 23 corners makes it one of the most demanding races on the calendar. Tight, twisty. You could basically call this track Monaco with long straights. Very, very difficult to overtake here, so qualifying is going to be essential. A long haul race, but stay tuned with it, because in this series it's always going to be a bit of fun anyway. And for me to go on for an hour talking consistently, that's going to be difficult, and I know everybody's going to be bored of me towards the end of the session, but we're going to get ready for qualifying very, very shortly. We'll see you on the other side of this edit. So here we are at Marina Bay at this lovely Singapore circuit. As you can see, it's daytime. That's not normal. That's not normal for this track to see it in the full lights, so maybe temperatures are going to be slightly higher. What we will have, though, is this lap data enabled. We'll also have all of this to here. So, a couple of things to mention as I go to look up this information. As we can see a Ferrari leave. There's Heffy leaving as well. Let's have a look at some of the information that I received at the end of last race. So, Spark Bobster will have a 5-place grid penalty for his lap 1 crash at Italy. It will be added to his finishing place wherever he finishes at this race. W4 has a qualifying ban, and this is his final one before things start to get very serious, so that's why he's not competing in this session. Shugam, or Shug M, I was moaned at by him, but it's Shug M. Shug M has a 5-place grid penalty after this race as well. So those are your penalties for today. But as we head on, we can see Titium on those soft tyres once again, playing this wild card that he so loves to do, setting times on a soft, on the extremely softer tyre. Because why not? Why wouldn't you? So as we see now, many of the drivers on their outlap. It's such a long circuit, this one, you can afford to get yourself that little bit more space in order to set your lap time. It is a tough and demanding circuit, so one slight error and you're into the wall, you're into the barriers, and the demanding race such as this, it is very, very difficult to recover, especially if you put it into the wall. But so the first driver we're going to see is Heffy. Not long after him, we've got DarrenSinclair as well. We're just having a look at the leaderboard, see if I could spot Chelsea Boy. There he is, 8th at the moment, obviously. Not up to date, but he is your current championship leader. As we ride on board with Heffy, as he starts his flying lap in that number 90 car. Braking for this first chicane. Expect that corner to attract a lot of attention, especially on lap 1. That's going to be a very interesting corner to worry about when you get into the race. And then you get onto this right-hander, onto the straight that's not a straight, that uses DRS. I believe that's the Raphael Boulevard. I believe that's what it's called. As you head towards turn 7. Making your way across Nicole Highway into turn 8, onto Stamford Road, and then into turn 9 onto this longer straight onto St Andrews Road. Then you have really where the old Singapore Sling used to be. They took it out after the bumps and curves were way too aggressive and sent some of the drivers into the wall. As you now head across Anderson Bridge into this slight hairpin, and you head up across Esplanade Drive. As you can see though, DarrenSinclair is closing on Heffy, so let's see how that affects lap time as you head into the more technical side, full of 90-degree corners this one, as you head into the slight kink of 15 and then break into 16 and 17. This is where your 90-degree corners really start to take a toll on you. But as you can see, North Star has retired from the session. Let's see if we can get a quick on board with him. Has he got it wrong? Yes, he has got it wrong. I can't really tell you where that is though. No, I'm not sure where that is, but he has lost it into the wall. We're going to ride on board. Yeah, there's DarrenSinclair, 1:38.8 for a very good lap time for him. As you can see now, Spark Bobster 1:41.7, Invader Zippo 1:40.9. We will have a look at. See if we can ride on board with Chelsea Boy. There he is, as he comes across the line now and goes second, only a 10th off though, 1:38.9. So that's going to be a very close battle between the two of them, as we try and let's see who else we can ride on board with. Let's ride on board with the Gort if we can. See if we can pick him up. GM Rocket Queen setting a 1:42.1, Mr. Vink 1:44.2. What's important about this track is, as a Sauber gets out of the way, what is important about this track is you just keep your cool. That's really the fastest way to get around this track, as the Gort now rounding the final 2 corners, very high speed as he heads towards the line, goes 3rd fastest at 1:40.4 as we're having a look now. We saw yellow flags in sector 2. I'm not sure what that was for. Let's see if we can ride on board with Shug M. Sorry. Shug M in 4th place, 1:40.6, and you can see now. There we go. So you can see there, less than a 10th of a second separates Chelsea Boy from DarrenSinclair, the next fastest driver, 1.6 off the pace. So obviously these are banker laps, so you know, just in case. We've got yellow flags in sector 3. Not sure the reason for that. Let's ride on board with Heemkarl as he's making his way around towards the final 2 corners. Let's see what sort of lap time he could set. He crosses the line. It's 1:41 dead, so that's 7th place that's got him so far. Martin Titian decides this time to go on the ultra soft tyres. Probably a wise move. He makes his way towards the start finish line to apparently start his out lap. I thought he was on a lap, but never mind. Ignore me. Jensen here is ghosting, so that looks like he's in the pause menu. Either that or maybe he's got a disconnection problem. But he's back in now. Maybe he had a look in the pause menu for something. Here comes White Samba. Second place in his last race, but decides not to carry on with that lap. Maybe he wasn't happy with it. And yeah, so he's back into the pit lane now to have another go at it later on. Bravo Wolf has not come out just yet, so keep an eye on him. As now we wait, and we'll see if we can get on board with anybody. Invader Zippo here. I'm not sure if he's on a lap. I doubt it, because I don't know. No, he's carrying on, so he's going to set a lap. What's this lap going to be as he heads towards the line now? It goes faster and goes 4th place. So he's knocked off, I think that was 8/10 I saw there, so that's a good lap for him as Mercedes look to try and close the gap towards the top 3. Spark Bobster, 9th place so far, and is looking to go out to set himself a lap time. Now, remember, Spark Bobster does have that 5-place grid penalty that will be added to the end of his race. So that's really important to note. The officials last week deemed Spark Bobster to be at fault for that first lap collision, and he will be punished with a 5-place grid penalty. Can't tell you anything about Shug M's penalty though. Not quite sure. It might have been a collision in Italy that we didn't see, so I can't say anything about that, unfortunately. We see here, I believe we can just ride on board with Rockatoni. Yes, we can. As Rockatoni, that looks like he's run out of fuel, which is always awkward. Yeah, I believe Rockatoni's run out of fuel there. And especially at a long circuit like this, the last thing you want is to make your way back to the pits with no fuel whatsoever. Especially, he's only got about just under 3 minutes to go. So he might not make it back to the pits. He might have. Yes, he's decided that he's not going to make it back to the pits in time and retires from the session. So he is in P3 at the moment at a 1:39.6. But as drivers get more confident, expect that lap time to fall slightly. Meanwhile, Spark Bobster, got to be careful with those curves. It's really, really easy to just lose your concentration and cut a curb and you lose your lap time altogether. Right on board with Spark Bobster then as he makes his way towards the line and starts his flying lap. Recovered that very nicely. Running slightly wide there, not quite getting the great exit, but lies in 10th place at the moment, so we'll have a see if he can improve his lap times at all. Yellow flags in sector 3, but no one's retired just yet, so just might be a car who's maybe lost it. So here's DarrenSinclair warming up those tyres. As we've got Shug M there, trying to get out of the way. Oh, DarrenSinclair came close to the wall there. Not sure if he's done any damage to his car. That will be an interesting one to see. As DarrenSinclair warming up the tyres as best he can, he's going to go for it. As he starts his flying lap, his second one of the session. Can he improve on what he's already done? We'll have a look, see where Chelsea Boy is. Chelsea Boy is on an out lap. So DarrenSinclair can go full attack. Or brushes the wall slightly there. Spark Bobster's out of the session. And he's lost it. Maybe trying to push too hard. DarrenSinclair's retired from the session, so I think When he went too wide onto that right-hander to go onto the DRS straight, that's where he's got a time penalty. Or Chelsea ball. That is DarrenSinclair with pole position. And Chelsea boy in second. Rockatoni gets that last position in third place. The Gort starts in fourth. Rockatoni fifth. Geordie Davies sixth. Invader Zippo seventh. GM Rocket Queen eighth. Shugem ninth. Watatitium in 10th. Heemkarl in 11th. White Samba in 12th. He'll have to work his way up the grid from there. Heffy in 13th. Same for him. Spark Bobster 14th. W4 no, didn't set a time. Neither did North Star, ESP Cruiser or Jensen. Of course, W4 had that qualifying ban. We'll see where he starts in the race. But for round 14, we're about to get underway. Under the lights, hopefully, at Singapore. Well, we're not under the lights here, but hopefully they won't have too much of an effect on the race upcoming. We've got about 30 seconds till the race start. Let's have your predictions in the comments. Who's going to come out on top? Can DarrenSinclair get a win to correct this form of his? Can Chelsea boy make it 3 in a row? What about Mr. Vink, newcomer to the series, only his second race and puts it on third place on the grid? We're about to find out though. Singapore is coming up. So here we go, on to 5 red lights. Lights out, away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. Looks like a clean getaway for everyone as we head into turn 1. And that is Chelsea boy has moved ahead of DarrenSinclair into this race. Let's have a look further behind, shall we? We'll get this telemetry up as we head towards the DRS straight. And let's see if anybody crashes out. Yes, that's Spark Bobster into the wall. Spark Bobster is into the wall. Now, I only saw the end of that, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. But yes, Spark Bobster into the wall. And this is frustrating when you just can't get the car turned around. He does eventually. Now, does he have damage? I did see front wing go off. He might have to go back to the pits. Meanwhile, DarrenSinclair has moved back into the lead. So in my wanting to see what's happened to Spark Bobster, DarrenSinclair's retaken the lead off of Chelsea boy, who chases him down now. Mr. Vink has held his position in third place as Chelsea boy tries to look down the inside of DarrenSinclair. DarrenSinclair may have run just too deep into that hairpin, but has just recovered enough. As we have yellow flags in Sector 2, let's see what's going on. Not quite sure, but we ride on board with Bravo Wolf. He's moved up to 12th place as he locks up going into this right-hander. And 3-second time penalty for Geordie Davies and GN Rocket Queen. So that's going to be added on to the end of their race. Meanwhile, ride on board with DarrenSinclair as Chelsea boy and Mr. Vink chase him down. Yellow flags in Sector 3. Not quite sure who that is. Didn't see any drop of positions, so interesting enough though. the leader of the race hasn't set the fastest lap of the race in the first lap. So that's interesting to see as ESP Cruiser moves up. Jensen looks like he has a problem. Let's see if we can ride on board with him at all. And Jensen's into the pits. So he's obviously got front wing damage from that earlier off, and Jensen decides to retire from the session. That's a real shame because it is only the start of the race and we've already got a DNF. Jensen with that front wing damage might have been involved with Spark Bobster, but can't know for sure though. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Darren Sinclair once again as Chelsea Boy's falling into the clutches of Mr. Vink. If he's not careful, he's just got to keep his cool. He's won the last 2 races. Mr. Vink there in 3rd place, having a fantastic race so far as he slightly locks up going into the old Singapore sling. The Gort there in 4th place. Rockatoni there in 5th. Geordie Davey in 6th. Invader Zippo in 7th. GN Rocket Queen in 8th. Watatitium in 9th as Rocket Queen runs a little deep into that hairpin there. White Samba in 10th is recovering from that qualifying position. Bravo Wolf in 11th. Heffy in 12th. Under pressure though from Heemkarl, and well, I'm not sure about that move, Heffy. Don't think you gave Heemkarl too much space there, but it's all about the long distance. 31 laps around this circuit. You're here for about an hour, and Darren Sinclair already has 3-second time penalty. What I can only assume is abusing track limits. That's all it can be. DRS enabled as Chelsea Boy sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:43.0. But he's still 1.4 seconds behind. Let's ride on board with Mr. Vink as he rounds that complex. And will he have DRS going into here? 8/10. It looks like he is. And yes, he does have DRS. Open it goes. And he'll be looking to take away a podium. W4 now picks up a 3-second time penalty. The Gort there in 4th place. Just keeping an eye on this battle for 2nd place. We've got yellow flags in sector 2, and that looks like Rockatoni's got a problem. He has. Not sure if there's any damage to the car. Looks like that front right part of the wing might have taken damage. Don't know for sure what happened there, but I'm sure if Rockatoni wants to have an interview afterwards, which we are having in this race. The interviews went well last time, so we are going to have some more interviews, hopefully at the end of this race. Darren Sinclair, though, pulling away a gap, 1.6 now to the car behind. But remember, he does have a 3-second time penalty that's being added on to the end of his race. So really, you've just got to keep it on the track. That is literally all you have to do. It sounds easy, but it's really not. As Chelsea Boy looks to try and just build the gap to Mr. Vink. This track is just all about endurance and concentration. If you can keep it on the track for that hour, in this 50% race, you've got a good chance of finishing well. Yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3. The North Star is out. What's happened here? And North Star's lost it again. I believe is that the same place he lost it in qualifying? I think it is. So North Star is out of the race. And I think that is the same place he lost it in qualifying. So that's so unfortunate for him. It is a demanding track, this, and if you just have the slightest lock-up, chances are you're heading towards the wall. So that's such a shame. As ESP Cruiser looks like front wing damage. Is it? Yes, it is. So maybe involved in an earlier incident. Just felt the front wings not giving him the grip anymore. That's so crucial as well around this track. As we ride on board again with let's see if we can get onto the White Samba, because something's happening here. Look at this battle here. This is a fantastic battle. 4 of them fighting, I believe. That's over for 9th place. As White Samba looks up the inside of Titium, let's see if he can try and find a way past. And between the 3 of these guys, this is the battle for the last points position right now. As Heffy's up ahead as well as Inco had to take avoiding action there as White Samba really lost the back end there quite severely. White Samba's just had to take avoiding action. Meanwhile, Heffy, Bravo Wolf has left the session, so his car becomes a ghost, but if he does rejoin, he'll be able to get back into that car. But for now though, He is a ghost car and he's a free position to everybody. Watatitium moving up now to 9th place. So this now becomes a battle for 9th place, or 8th place, if you want to count Heffy into this battle as well. White Samba, though, W4 gets another penalty as that's Watatitium into the wall. And I think he did lose a part of his front wing there. Whether or not he's going to have to pit in, and he does. And that's what I'm talking about. That concentration you need to make it to the end of the race is so crucial. And it can cost you your front wing and cost you a good chance of finishing in the points here. So frustrating as well when you lose a part of your front wing around this track, because there he is as well, Watatitium having to be held, or is that a 5-second penalty? I'm not sure what that is, but either way, he's let off now. As I believe is that Shug M into the pits now? I believe it is. Yes, it is. So Shug M as well into the pits. As ESP Cruiser passes him on track. Looks like Shugam is going to carry on with the ultra soft tyres. Meanwhile, up ahead, DarrenSinclair leads the way. 2.4 seconds separates him from Chelsea Boy. Mr. Vink behind, 1.2. The Gort there in 4th place. Geordie Davey in 5th place. Losing time, but still a good position so far. Invader Zippo in 6th place. GM Rocket Queen in 7th. Heffy in 8th. White Samba in 9th. Hinko in 10th, trying to chase down White Samba. Rocket Tony in there in 11th place. Bravo Wolf at the moment is 12th, but if he rejoins the session, he'll be able to retake control of that car. W4 there in an ESP Cruiser. Just interrupt myself, and that is him into the wall. And that is, I can't tell you what that is actually. Is that's not the final corner, is it? No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm not sure where that is, but it's somewhere in Sector 2, and Cruiser has lost it and is out of the race. Now we see Mr. Vink there, losing a position, and Mr. Vink has now left the session. So connection troubles, troubling 2 drivers in this session, and Mr. Vink, who's been running so well in 3rd place, and Mr. Vink has joined again, so the telemetry goes a bit haywire whilst he rejoins, but he should rejoin if he doesn't lose this position to Geordie Davey. Mr. Vink has left the session once again, so Geordie Davey gets passed up into 4th place. And Mr. Vink's car will keep going around until he rejoins back. But it does say Mr. Vink there's in 17th, so it's very harsh of the game. Not quite sure about that. Let's see, where's the closest battle? I think it's Heme car. Let's ride on board as he chases down White Samba. Oh, loses the back end and into the wall he goes! Oh, curse of the commentator, loses his entire front wing, and that's such a long lap back towards the pits. And he was looking good to try and challenge White Samba, but it's gone bad now as he tries to limp back to the pits. Such a huge shame for Hinkar. We're now going to ride on board with Heffy though, as I believe that's Rocket Queen up ahead. Mr. Vink there in 16th, the Ghost is saying. He was running in 3rd place, so that's a huge shame for Mr. Vink. Meanwhile though, Heffy chasing down Rocket Queen. This is your closest battle on the track at the moment, so we're going to ride on board with it. And now across the start-finish line into this first section here. It's very, very difficult, especially on that right-hand side there, to keep it on the track. It's very tempting to try and take as much curb of that as possible as Hinkar makes his way back to the pits. So too does Rocketoni. Rocketoni looking like there's front wing off there as well. And yes, there is. A lot of front wings are being changed in this race, and I'm not surprised entirely by that. Bravo Wolf, I believe Bravo Wolf is still a Ghost. He is. Watatitium gets up into 11th place. Bravo Wolf is next up for him, and that's for the points position. And of course, Bravo Wolf is a Ghost, so it should be easy pickings. Very close to the wall there as he rides the actual curb, a street curb. So very lucky there to get away with no damage. We're going to ride on board with Heffy as Watatitium slams into the wall there. Let's see if we can ride on board with Heffy as he chases down Rocket Queen. 6/10 the gap between them now. And Rocket Queen goes on the defensive, keeps out of the slipstream. And Sugar moves up a position against Watatitium. Moves up into 11th, you can see on the left-hand side there. And Heffy, this is for 6th place, this battle. And we can see now the tyres everyone is on. So W4 is going for a very long stint on those soft tyres. Rocketoni and Spark Bobster are the only other two on different tyres. They're on the super softs. You can see Heffy trying to get past, letting him know he's there, using those different lines to just try and put off Rocket Queen. As we head into the final corner, Rocket Queen runs slightly wide, and Heffy now is going to surely see this chance as he's going to try and go down the outside, which will turn into the inside, and then back onto the outside. Not much room there given to Heffy, but never mind, as they keep battling on. So Heffy will definitely have DRS now against Rocket Queen. Yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3 as we stay on board with Heffy. On goes the DRS, and surely now in that slipstream, Heffy is going to try and go down the inside, but not quite. Just slightly too far away as we head now round. I've lost my map, but I believe we're coming up to the old Singapore Sling, which is just before. But yes, here we go. You can see Heffy on his gearbox, not giving him much room at all as we head into the hairpin, as Heffy goes the wider line to try and get the better apex. Hasn't quite worked this time, but Rocket Queen definitely knows he's there. Spark Bobster gets a 3-second time penalty just on the bottom left there. Keep an eye on that for race control. You may pick up on something I completely miss. As Heffy now really wants to get past Rocket Queen. As they keep going under the bridge now, and Heffy slightly taps the wall there as he got all of his front wing intact. Looks like it, so he'll carry on. Chelsea Boys, first of the leaders, into the pits, and he'll go onto the super soft tyres. So that looks like an attempted undercut, but you can see in the background there is a battle for 4th and 5th, and Chelsea Boy will comfortably rejoin in front of it. So that's crucial. No traffic now, and Chelsea Boy can try and make this undercut work. Meanwhile, we go back behind on Rocket Queen, and you can see Heffy trying to go look up the inside as now they're fighting. You can see the Sauber behind them of White Samba is slowly closing in as White Samba gets that 3-second time penalty, and now W4 gets another one. Rocket Queen doing a great job of just holding back and defending as Heffy now, look at this. It's so close between the two of them. We're evenly matched pretty much. Rocket Queen is giving him no quarter. White Samba though is closing on this group, so White Samba might have something to say as Chelsea Boy is quicker than DarrenSinclair on that undercut. We'll have a look, see if we can hover over the race leader just in case we can, but you can see Heffy right on Rocket Queen's gearbox. This battle could go on for quite a while. Lovely camera angle there. That is a great camera angle. As we now head towards the bridge now, under it we go. And you can see now, you can see how much time this is costing Heffy. He wants to get past now. He's seen in his mirrors that White Samba is there, and very late call from Rocket Queen to make his mind up about pitting. I'm not sure that was entirely legal, but never mind. Here we go, battle of the pit stops. This is for 4th place on track. So let's see who can get out first, and that's Rocket Queen being held up in the pits by Heffy. Heffy has jumped him. Heffy has jumped Rocket Queen in the pits, and that'll be a huge relief for Heffy as he'll rejoin on the ultra soft tyres, and that's a big call big decision by the team to pit at the same time, but it's worked for Heffy as he moves ahead of Rocket Queen. And now Heffy can push on. That's a great job by the McLaren boys in that pit lane to get him ahead of Rocket Queen. It's worked perfectly for them. And now Heffy has the chance to push on now to see if he can try and catch up to Invader Zippo. He's only 7 seconds down the road. But Heffy's got to watch out for Shug M. Shug M has had a difficult race so far. He may not be racing him on track, but he'll certainly cause a few problems if he can. Frustrated after Italy, he said he did like Singapore if you watched the episode last week, so he'll be looking to try and make that work. We're going to have a look at the pit stops now. You can see Shug M has already made his stop as he was involved earlier on in an incident, but he won't try and let that get to him. I know he won't. Pretty cool head when it comes to it. DarrenSinclair's in the pit and has put on the soft tyres. Is that him trying to go to the end of the race? Let's have a see if we can ride on board with him. And DarrenSinclair has put on the soft tyres and Chelsea boys jumped him. So this is going to be a very interesting call. Can DarrenSinclair make it to the end of the session, of the race, with only the soft tyres? Chelsea boy will have to stop again because those super softs won't make it. But that's an interesting call for DarrenSinclair. Can he make it to the end on those soft tyres? Stick with it because we're on lap 11 now. Chelsea boy is on the super soft tyres. He's 4.5 ahead of DarrenSinclair. GM Rocket Queen there getting a 3-second time penalty. So this is your effective leader so far because the Gort has not pitted just yet. Having to deal with back markers as well. Invader Zippo in 4th place right now, running a slightly lonely race, but as Singapore, as I've said before, it's all about keeping your concentration, and if you're keeping your nose clean, it looks like you'd have a good result. As it happens for Invader Zippo, currently in 4th place, just stayed out of trouble. That's all he's needed to do, and he's up into 4th place as a result. Heffy now is pushing on. He's closing that gap and is extending his advantage against Shug M. So for Heffy, he's looking to try and get this result. He said to me last week that he had a terrible race in Italy. He was talking to me afterwards, and he said he wanted to just push on and make this race count. It certainly looks like it right now. He's in 5th place. May not have had the best qualifying in the world, but he's certainly making up for it in the race. Riding on board with GN Rocket Queen. 1.1 behind Shug M. And as you can see behind, White Samba on super soft tyres, and Shug M gets a 3-second time penalty added on to the end of his race. As Rocket Queen looking at Shug M. This is your closest battle on the track at the moment, so we're going to ride on board with it and see if Rocket Queen can maybe close the gap on Shug M. 8 tenths is the gap so far, now it's up to 9 tenths. Now it's up to a second, so will Rocket Queen get DRS? No, Rocket Queen will not get DRS. So Shug M is doing a mighty job on older tyres to try and extend the gap. White Samba on those super soft tyres will be hoping Rocket Queen can catch up to Shug M, because if Rocket can, then that means wonders for White Samba, because it means he'll be able to close the gap whilst the two are battling up ahead. Your updates on your ghost cars. Bravo Wolf still a ghost. Mr. Vink still a ghost. I don't think those two are joining back in the session, so we won't worry too much about them. Geordie Davey is into the pits to serve what I believe is his drive-through, is it? Or is this a pit stop? It's a pit stop. And on go the soft tyres, I believe. Yes, on go the soft tyres. So Geordie Davey is going to try and make it to the end of the race, as is Himcar, as is DarrenSinclair. Actually, I think Himcar was a stop earlier, so I don't think Himcar's going to make it to the end of the race on those soft tyres. as we're going to ride on board with the Gort, who is your current race leader. But Chelsea Boy is closing the gap, and you can see for DarrenSinclair, he's holding the gap on those soft tyres. So that is a mighty job from him. And Chelsea Boy might have to rethink strategy here. What's he going to do? Because DarrenSinclair is going nowhere. Let's ride on board with Chelsea Boy. At the moment in second place. He is your net leader as stops go, because the Gort has not stopped yet, even on lap 13. So a mighty job to keep those tyres intact from the Gort. Maybe he could make it a one-stop. Who knows? Maybe he knows something we don't, as he will complete. He's done 12 laps on those tyres already. So maybe he might try and go for a one-stop and see if he can make those super soft tyres last till the end of the race. But you can see now he's struggling with that grip on the track, and he's staying out for another lap. So he will have completed 13 laps on those tyres towards the end of the race, but you can see Chelsea Boy is closing the gap massively now. He's only 3.9 behind the Gort. Surely the Gort has got to come into the pits at some point. He has not stopped yet, and those ultra soft tyres are looking worse for wear. Geordie Davey, you can see at the bottom there, 4 stops already, although one of them was a drive-through. That does count as a stop. But the Gort has got to seriously consider if he can make it any more laps on those ultra soft tyres. Unfortunately though, we don't really... Oh, we can! Look at that! Look at that! We can actually see fuel mix and everything. So, pit window, lap 14, so we could see the Gort pitting in this lap. Well, that's a feature I never knew I could do, so we're all learning something here. But yeah, you can see a bit of fuel on board, predicted to rejoin in third place if he pits this lap, which it looks like he's going to. If that pit window is anything to suggest. Bit of an interesting camera angle there, so we can't really see what's going on, but there is Chelsea Boy 3.2 behind, and DarrenSinclair is well, he's closing the gap. Look at that, 3.6 the gap is now, as I believe that is Watertitium, I think that is in the Ferrari there, so he's not for position. He is actually a back marker. But the Gort there, switching it into lead mix, just to get those grip on those tyres, make them last a little longer as he makes his way through. Surely he'll be pitting. Yes, it looks like he is. So finally on lap 14, the Gort makes his way into the pit lane. We'll have a look-see and see that pit window as the leaders, Chelsea Boy and DarrenSinclair, move up. We can see Invader Zippo. So it looks like the Gort will rejoin ahead of Invader Zippo, looking at it. So we'll see now if he's got a clear track ahead of him, and we'll have a see once he exits the pit lane. There's a car there. Is that Invader Zippo though? No, it's not. It's the ghost car of his teammate. So the Gort, it's still saying pit window of lap 10 to 14. So maybe that telemetry isn't quite accurate, but never mind. We'll see if it resets itself at some point. Yeah, it's only showing the first pit window, lap 8 to 12 there for Chelsea Boy. DarrenSinclair was 9 to 13, so yeah, but look how much fuel DarrenSinclair's got on board. So he's fuel saving for now. But Invader Zippo there. Plenty of fuel on board for Invader Zippo to try and have a push. But maybe he's just trying to save his tyres for now. But Heffy, look at this. This is for position now. This is for fourth place. Going to try and battle here with Invader Zippo. Heffy determined to make this race a good one. And it looks like he's going to. He just keeps his cool, that is. On towards this straight here after the hairpin. And Heffy, having a look, but not quite ready to make that move yet. Battle for fourth place here with Invader Zippo. As we look on board and behind, W4 and Watertitium into the pits. presuming to put on the soft tyres to try and get to the end of the race. But you can see here Heffy is pushing, and Heffy on those faster tyres will be looking to try and make a way past as soon as he possibly can. We head towards the start-finish line. What's the gap between them? 7 tenths. So it's looking good here for Heffy if he can get the DRS, because he needs to get past. He's on the softer tyres, and you can see how much he's trying to push that car just to try and keep in that DRS window. So he has kept in that DRS window. Let's see how much he's going to gain. Of course, equal cars, and the McLaren will have straight line speed. And Heffy closing the gap. You can see here. We're going to try and have a look at White Samba right now, because this is another battle that's going on for track. This is for 7th place, and White Samba has caught up on the harder tyres. But run wide there. Maybe trying to get a better exit, or genuine mistake. I'm sure it was meant, that one. But yeah, a good job from White Samba to close the gap to Rocket Queen. Look at that. I believe White Samba has front wing damage. Let's have a look at the right. So left-hand side of that front wing. Is it left? Oh, it's right-hand side. Right-hand side of that front wing. Looks damaged to me. Yes, that's definitely damaged. So this is going to be a big call for White Samba. Does he carry on? And with less downforce, maybe more tyre wear? Does he pit in, pop on the soft tyres and make it to the end? Well, he's pitting in, that's what he's doing. Whether that was contact with the wall with another driver, we won't know for sure. But White Samba into the pit. Such a shame for him. He was looking good for a good solid points finish. As that's also Shug M into the pit, and Rockatoni as well. Your leader so far, Chelsea Boy, but closing the gap on soft tyres is DarrenSinclair. Let's ride on board back with Heffy as he's still closing the gap. We've got yellow flags in sector 2 as we've got a Ferrari off in the background there. That's Watertitium. And yeah, Watertitium's retired from the session. He's obviously had enough today, and that's his race done. He's done for the day. Not quite sure what happened there. We did see a car spinning off in the background. Let's see if we can ride back on board with Heffy. Looks to keep going, keep trying to grind his way through to try and get past Invader Zippo. It's easier said than done around a track like this where it's so difficult to overtake. Well, we have 13 runners so far, so Heffy there getting a time penalty after that latest track extension. There's Heffy looking in the slipstream of Invader Zippo, trying to find a way past, and I can only imagine under that lid of his, he's getting frustrated. He knows he's quicker, he knows he's on the quicker tyre. It's all about making that pass. As we see the ghost car there of Mr. Vink. Heffy's still behind, but he is looking for a way through. Trouble is as well with the ghost cars is sometimes there's a car in front of you and you just take avoiding action if you can. It's what's so difficult about it with the ghost cars running around, is that sometimes it's very difficult to tell if they are an actual car, especially when you're in a battle like that. But both of them have got through, so credit to them. But But we're now going to switch back to the leaders here, Chelsea Boy and Darren Sinclair, because Darren Sinclair is within DRS zone. This is DRS territory now for Darren Sinclair on the soft tyres. So what a mighty drive from Sinclair right now. And Chelsea Boy's got to try and hang on for dear life. But it's one thing catching up to the car ahead, as we've seen with Heffy. It's another thing entirely to try and make that pass. But Darren will know that he's got to make this move if he wants to retake that lead of the championship. This is basically for the lead of the championship, this battle. So can Darren find a way past? Can Chelsea Boy just hold on? We'll have a look at this telemetry, see if it tells us anything. No, just on the first window, so clearly designed for 25% races, not 50. That is a shame, so we can't see what strategy these two are going for, so I can't confirm whether Darren Sinclair is going to the end of the race, and I can't really confirm if Chelsea Boy is going to have another super soft stint. Either way, this battle looks a bit tasty, I've got to say. What will happen and what will matter here is Chelsea Boy's decision. When does he pit for new tyres? Because he can't make it to the end on those super softs. Surely not. He's got to make a decision of when to pit and what tyres to put on. Whatever his decision will be, he knows he's then going to be quicker than Darren Sinclair. And it's all about closing that gap towards the end of the race. That's when it's going to matter. Sinclair's tyres are going to be shot and his might be fresher. But you can see Darren Sinclair looking in his mirrors there as Darren Sinclair tries to have a look down the inside. Not quite. As Chelsea Boy gets himself a 3-second time penalty. He's worrying about what's in his mirrors, and Darren Sinclair here looks to try and make the move. Darren Sinclair gets a 3-second penalty as well. So that's what you have to take into account. But Sinclair moves ahead of Chelsea Boy. That's for the lead of the race. But these two both have penalties, and I've lost track of how many penalties these two actually have. So that's another thing for Chelsea Boy as well. Darren Sinclair, I know, has got at least 6 seconds of penalties in this race. And what I've seen, anyway, Chelsea Boy has 3 seconds. So that's even more incentive to try and pit for fresher tyres, fresher rubber, and see if he can just make it to the end. He's got that chance. He's got that opportunity to try and push. He's in a position now where he can try his luck, because second place, it looks like, is the Gort there, and he's still dropping back. So we can see... In fact, let's have a look at the telemetry. Yeah, the Gort is staying around 22.9 seconds. So it would be an ideal time for Chelsea Boy to pit in and try a new strategy. He's got the time, he's got the resources, so the Renault there just moves out of the way. Oh, that's... Ooh, the Renault on the racing line for Chelsea Boy. That's not going to help him whatsoever. And the Renault there, I'm not sure who that is, but giving Heffy a really hard time there. Not sure that's entirely sportsmanlike. And yes, again, the Renault is just not getting out of the way. Well, that has cost Chelsea Boy so much time, and rightly so. He comes into the pits to change strategy. This is what he's got to do now. And we'll try and... That is Heimkar. I'm not quite sure what Heimkar was planning to do there, but whatever it is, he's made his mark on the lead lead of the race, that's for sure. Anyway, let's ride on board now with Heffy, who's defending from Shug M. Both of these guys on a different strategy. As Chelsea Boy now rejoins, he's on the Ultra Softs, so he's going to push like there's no tomorrow. He's got nothing to lose now, as he'll now try and have a push. Why not, he says. Let's have a look at the gap to the leader. So 28.1. Keep an eye on that time, because it's going to fall dramatically. Darren Sinclair, though, there he is, has a decision to make. Does he pit in now and cut his losses with the soft tyres, make sure he's on a softer tyre so that he can stay ahead? It might be too late to make that sort of decision, though. A lap around Singapore and you have a bundle of time lost, especially if you're on the wrong tyres. So it's up to Darren Sinclair now, who may be in control. As we see now, 27.6. Again, though, whilst Darren Sinclair has a clear bit of track, the Gort is the man separating Chelsea Boy from second place, and the Gort may have a say in this lead race, in the battle for the lead of the race. So that's going to be very interesting too. Chelsea Boy, though, in third place. He'll be looking to try and just set quick lap after quick lap. I'm sure he'll be told by his engineer qualifying laps till the end now. There's a Haas up ahead. Not quite sure who that is, but he'll be getting the blue flags, that's for sure. Yeah, there he goes out of the way. 26.9, so he's already cut a second out of DarrenSinclair in this lap, even with traffic. So he's proving now there is the pace. And you can see 26.5. So that's the gap to the leader. And you can see he's closing quickly and precisely on the Gort. So this is going to be a grandstand finish, especially between DarrenSinclair and Chelsea Boy. Everything's got to go right for Chelsea Boy though. He has to keep his cool. He just has to keep pushing. Not long to go now. 9 laps after this lap actually. It'll be 9 laps to go once DarrenSinclair crosses the line. But the Gort is the obstacle. Depending on how quickly Chelsea Boy gets past this man here, the Gort, that's going to be crucial in seeing whether Chelsea Boy can retake the lead of the race. Meanwhile, DarrenSinclair has got to keep his cool as well. He's got to set consistent lap times. And if Chelsea Boy comes towards him at the end of the race, he's got to be ready to put up that fight. Invader Zippo comes into the pits to pop on a set of Ultra Softs. Not quite sure what happened there, but Heffy now into 5th place. Shug M up into 4th. But can Shug M make it to the end of the race on those tyres? He is on a different strategy. As we have a look here, we have right on board with Chelsea Boy closing that gap and quickly. That's exactly what he needs to do. He just needs to keep pushing, and going by this pace, it's going to be close towards the end of the race. It's going to be very close, but I think Chelsea Boy is going to have to push a lot harder. Especially if he's got the Gort as traffic. He sets the fastest lap there, 1:41.0. As Chelsea Boy realises that's a ghost ahead, he can just find his way through. But this is the difficult part. This is the part he didn't want. There's yellow flags in Sector 2. Let's see if there's a loss of time for anyone. I can't see who it was, so it might just be a spin. As now Chelsea Boy, this is the part he didn't want. Stuck behind traffic, and stuck behind quick traffic. It's going to be crucial here for Chelsea Boy. If he can make this move, he's going to try it. No, he's not, into the old Singapore sling. Thought better of it. And these two are going to battle now. Chelsea Boy will hope for not that very much longer as he tries to take a wider line, get a better apex out of the hairpin. Can he make this move stick? No, he can't. It's too far back. You can see fastest laps, 1:41.0 for Chelsea Boy compared to 1:42.8 for DarrenSinclair. So he's cutting into that lap time. As now Chelsea Boy's going to have a look down the inside, thinks better of it once again, heading under the bridge. Very, very close, very fine margins too. As Chelsea Boy, the longer he stays behind the Gort, the more frustrated he's going to get. Rockatoni and Geordie Davey getting 3-second time penalties, as the Gort now is going to try and hold his own. But for how much longer as they come down the main straight? DRS is open for Chelsea Boy. He's got the inside line. Can he keep it as he heads towards turn 1 now? Not quite. No, they're side by side heading through turn 3 there. And then now they're going to head towards the second DRS straight, but it's too late. Chelsea Boy's taken the second place. The Gort now will have DRS. But let's see if the Gort can actually take that position back. Chelsea Boy looks too far ahead for me. So Chelsea Boy now past the Gort. That was his biggest obstacle. Now he's got to try and chase down the leader. 24.4. He's got to close the gap. It's a big ask, but Chelsea Boy looks up for it now. Shug M, 4th place so far. Remember he said last week, he said he liked Singapore and how this track was set up. Well, he's in 4th place right now, looking to go just towards the end of the race. 7 laps to go here. We're going to ride on board with race leader DarrenSinclair as he makes his way through that third sector. The Mercedes there trying to push as we head into the last corner now. Now 7 laps to go until the end of the race. 7 laps, 23 seconds. If I'm working that out on the fly, I say that. So here's the gap that Chelsea Boy needs to reduce every single lap, 3.2 seconds to even get a shot of overtaking DarrenSinclair. But remember that penalties have to be taken into effect after this race, especially by the game, whether or not drivers appeal their 3-second time penalties. It's very rare that that happens, but it can do. But it's a huge, huge task for Chelsea Boy. He does look up for it though. That's the main thing. 23.1 separates him now. All he has to do, well, I say all he has to do, it's very difficult to try and keep your head in this sort of situation. But the ball right now looks like it's in DarrenSinclair's court. All he has to do is say to those tyres, don't puncture. That's really the only problem he could see towards the end of the race. We're going to have a look for other battles on the track. Let's have a look at the interviews. Intervals. Invader Zippo there looks like the closest battle. Hefe up ahead. 6/10 separates the two of them for now, and we'll have a see if this develops into anything. Hefe on super soft tyres, Invader Zippo on the ultra softs. So Invader Zippo has the upper hand in terms of tyre. They will have DRS. There it opens. Heading towards the major braking zone. And Invader Zippo here. Again, this is what frustrates drivers. If you're on the faster tyre and you're behind someone who's on a harder compound, that's one of the most frustrating things, especially if you can't get past. But Invader Zippo here, this is battle for 5th place. Looks up for it though. All Hefe has to do is hold on for another 6 laps. So let's have a look at the individual drivers. DarrenSinclair has pulled off a 1-stop so far. He's your race leader for now, and if results stay like this, he will be your new leader once again in the championship. Chelsea Boy, 21.2 behind. He's doing his best to try and catch up, even with every single odd against him. The Gort in 3rd place. He's had a bit of a quiet race, but he's been there, and looks on his way to try and have another podium. Shug M in 4th. He's 57 seconds behind, not the leader, but 3rd place. He's had a frustrating race early on when he had to pit for new tyres and a change of front wing, but 4th place, it's been a solid drive for him today. Hefe in 5th place, again, didn't have the best qualifying, but is holding off Invader Zippo right now, battle for 5th place. Speaking of Invader Zippo, 6th place right now. White Samba in 7th again, like Hefe, having to recover from a not so ideal qualifying session. GN Rocket Queen in 8th place there, stayed relatively in check and looking for a strong finish. Rocket Tony there could be battling there. GN Rocket Queen has the Samba there, I believe. Not quite sure, is that White Samba? No, it's not. Oh, it's DarrenSinclair, of course it's the other Samba of DarrenSinclair on the soft tyre. Let's have a look at now Spark Bobster, who could be looking for a points finish for Ferrari. White Samba there getting a 3-second time penalty. Remember, these results aren't final. Obviously, time penalties will be added by the game. Heen Carl into the pits once again in 11th place. A very frustrating day for him. Geordie Davey in 11th place in that Red Bull W4 with countless time penalties, with a broken front wing as well. They're in 12th place. Bravo Wolf, a ghost. Mr. Vink, a ghost as well. I'm terribly ashamed for Mr. Vink. He looked like he was going to have a fantastic race, and he was in lap 3. He disconnected from 3rd place So that's such a huge shame, but these things do happen. Hopefully he'll bounce back next week, having had a really good opening 3 laps and a fantastic qualifying session as well. Rockatoni gets past GN Rocket Queen. That's for 8th place. Rockatoni, oh, bit of oversteer there as the wheels just light up at the rear end, but he's kept a hold of it just about and moves up into 8th place. The man we're all watching now with 4 laps to go is Chelsea Boy. 18 seconds. That's a huge ask now. A huge ask. Not impossible though. But it is looking a bit shaky now for Chelsea Boy. At the moment, he's going to have to close the gap by 4.5 seconds every single lap. So obviously, if there are any time penalties, that'll be taken into account. But at the moment, all Chelsea Boy has to do, all he can do, is just push as hard as he can and hope that DarrenSinclair has penalties. The Gort, though, 10 seconds behind Chelsea Boy. Not sure of his penalties, whether he has any or not, but we will see at the end of the race. Looking like he's your final podium candidate. Now he's just got to have a lonely race to get to the end. He can sort of afford to take it a little bit easier now just to get the car home. And Shug M there in 4th place. Heffy's closing in though, so that will be for 4th place. And Invader Zippo as well is not far behind. So can Shug M hold on to 4th place? This is going to be a grandstand finish, especially, I said that about the lead of the race, but all those minutes ago. But Heffy is holding the gap to Shug M. As that is the Haas there of W4. Yep, that's the Haas of W4 getting out of the way. And well, okay, so that looks like W4 is going to have a move up the inside. And he is, to try and unlap himself on those ultra soft tyres. But it is equal cars, and if you're on fresh rubber like W4 is, you're going to try and unlap yourself. And look at this, it's putting Heffy off here as Heffy runs wide. And W4 retakes the position. In fact, it's not a position. W4 unlaps himself from Heffy. I don't think Heffy will be too pleased with that, but at the moment, just let him go, Heffy. Just let him go. It's not worth the battling. But blue flags will be waving like crazy for W4 now. Oh, this is going to cost Heffy so much time. As yes, at last. Was that him getting out of the way, or did he lose it? I'm not quite sure, but whatever it was, they're all through now. DarrenSinclair, looking like that one stop worked for him today. As things stand, he will retake the lead of the championship. As he rounds the final 2 corners and starts the penultimate lap of the race. We have a ride on board with Invader Zippo here, who's 7/10 behind Heffy. With Heffy now again trying to close on Shug M. And Chelsea Boy has now got a 3-second time penalty. So I said push as hard as you can, but those track limits have come into effect again. And at the moment, for what I can remember, those 2 at the front are now on exactly the same penalty. So track limits are a harsh mistress. As you can see though, leaders will be coming onto these guys pretty soon. DarrenSinclair will anyway. But we'll see how DarrenSinclair lapping them could take effect. I think you have to be around about 1 minute 44 behind before you get lapped. So these guys might be able to make it to the end on the lead lap. As Rocketoni looking for that opportunity to try and get past Heffy. He's heading round the final 2 corners now. I believe that's DarrenSinclair in the background, is it? No, it's not. Yes, it is. So DarrenSinclair starts the final lap of the race. We're right on board with him. There's a W4 behind him. Does his by and make a slight nuisance of himself, I will say that much. But when you're on the ultra soft tyres and you are a lap down, you'll try and do anything to try and unlap yourself. But DarrenSinclair looking like this is going to be another win for him if penalties are decided in his favour. One-stop proved to be the one-stop strategy, proved to be the one that worked. Chelsea boy had to take that risk, couldn't make it to the end on those super soft tyres, and he's done his best to try and change up the strategy, but in the end the task was just too big. The ultra soft tyres wear away much quicker, and unfortunately for Chelsea boy, he wasn't able to make that challenge towards the end of the race. DarrenSinclair, though, those tyres will be worn to shreds, I'm sure of it. But as he makes his way around for the final time around Marina Bay this season, it looks like he's going to take the lead of the championship as White Samba just dives out of the way. He doesn't want any part, he doesn't want to get in the way of DarrenSinclair as he heads under the bridge into sector 3. And now DarrenSinclair rounds. He'll let W4 through for another lap. But DarrenSinclair rounds the final corner and takes the win here at Marina Bay for round 14. He'll also retake the lead of the championship as well. We'll have a look at the screen. Rocketoni there finishing in 8th place as Heffy picks up a 3-second time penalty. Chelsea boy comes across the line to finish in 2nd place. We have a wait now for the rest of the drivers to finish now. We're waiting on the Gort to try and claim a penalty here. But DarrenSinclair's your winner today, and he'll retake the lead of the championship. And I believe, if Matt is right, he'll retake it by the same margin, 3 points. And Heemkart is out of the race. I'm not sure if he chose to retire or he's crashed into the wall. We'll have to find out later. The Gort there finishing in 3rd place, rounds off the podium. And it's been a good day for the Gort. Maybe a lonely race, but rather that than a hectic one in which you lose your front wing every 5 seconds. Geordie Davey there picking up a point for Red Bull. Could have been so much better with Mr. Vink, but these things happen with disconnections, and it's just something you have to live with, unfortunately. And that's a Renault there, that is Heemkart, so he did lose it into the wall. We see now Shug M, Heffy. Shug M finishes 4th, does he? And Heffy in 5th. And Invader Zippo has jumped Heffy for penalties by 0.3 of a second, so Invader Zippo will take 5th. And not quite sure where White Samba is because DarrenSinclair's completed a full lap of honour. Are you there, White Samba? There we go, White Samba finishes. So there's your winner, DarrenSinclair. He'll take the lead of the championship. Your winner here for round 14. So there they all go onto the podium. DarrenSinclair takes the lead of the championship. Chelsea boy in 2nd place and the Gort in 3rd. That's your podium for today and round 14. Shug M, as I'll now call you now, your proper name.
Shug M, aye.
Shug M, yeah.
Shugum's been dawning on me.
I think personally you should just change it to Shugum.
Well, do you know, it's actually quite catchy, man.
Well, I mean, go for it if you want. So let's talk about the weekend then. You said last week that Singapore was hopefully going to be a better track, and on that first lap it looked like it was going to be same old story.
It did. Were you watching? I was just trying to be as cautious as I could on that first lap because I wasn't about to pick up any more penalties coming into Malaysia. So I think I lost 12 places on the start. I went wide for the initial start-finish line, but I can't mind who was in front of me. But I've tried to go around the outside to try and stay out of the way, the inside of the corner. I thought there was going to be some carnage here. I've kind of come out of turn 2, 3. It's now like the wee wind a bit. It comes round tight. And I've been forced into the wall there, so that was a dampener. So I've got around in that. I've tried to go down as far as I could because I wasn't wanting to pit too early, and then that would have been my race mucked up. What I was planning in my head was I was trying to go as far as I could into the race before I absolutely had to pit, so that it was trying to bring me closer to everybody else's pit stops. But I ended up getting some contact with a wall on my own behalf and broke a bit of my wing, so I had to pit on lap 4 or 5, I think it was. I mean, I think you've just got to kind of keep your cool and come up with a new strategy as fast as you can. Heffy was really catching up to me at the end there. I was on quite old tyres and he'd just pitted. I think his tyres were 2 or 3 laps fresher than mine, but I was struggling for grip and pace at the end there, but I think he got held up because he was behind me 1 minute with 2 laps to go, and then it was like he pure dropped back. I'm not sure if he maybe spun at the bridge or something like that. I think he might have actually spun at the bridge. But it was a good race, really good race. Enjoyed it. I got my 5th place grid penalty, so I got dropped to the 9th after that. So a bit of a sore sting, but I mean that's me totally penalty free in that. I hope coming into the next race. So we'll see what I can do there. But I'm not really too good on the next track. I don't think I'm on anyway. But I mean we'll see what happens.
So Darren Sinclair takes the win today. Chelsea boy there in 2nd place. The Gort in 3rd. Shug M in 4th. Invader Zeppo 5th. Heffy in 6th. White Samba 7th. Rockatoni 8th. GN Rocket Queen in 9th, Geordie Davey 10th, Spark Bobster in 11th, Roman Grosjean apparently in 12th, Him Carl in 13th, and there you can see all the retirements there of people who left the session. They're all just drivers now. But that is your results for today, and it's been an interesting race. Let's have a look at the final finishing time, 54 minutes. It's just an enduring race to be involved with. Next up is Malaysia for round 16, I believe that is. 15, sorry. I've been saying the wrong round this whole time. But next up is Malaysia. So hopefully you will join us there. Please make sure you vote for your driver of the session in the eye on the top right. Make sure you subscribe to this channel as well. Hopefully videos up every Monday for you to watch and enjoy. But join us next week for Malaysia for round 15 of SNR. Until then, I've been Kieran McGinley. You've been listening. Until next time in Malaysia, take care of yourselves and I'll see you later.